good. Okay, kids, come on around. It's story time. Story time. Come on, hurry, hurry, hurry. Come on. Story time. Yes. Oh, man, it is so good to see you guys. I wish, oh, man, I miss your faces. I miss your sticky little fingers. Where are you guys? Ah, but I'll tell you what, we're still going to have a story, and we're going to have one of my absolute favorites. Okay, so, and the whole thing I want you to remember is that no matter what's going on right now, it's just weird. But we don't have to be afraid because God is bigger than any giants around. So, the Israelites were fighting against the Philistines. Oh, those guys just like to fight and fight and fight. Any chance they got, they would fight with each other. And right now, what was happening is on one hillside were the Israelites. On the other hillside were the Philistines. And there was this valley down in between. And every day, what would happen is this giant would come down from the Philistines. Now, when I'm talking giant, I'm not talking like, fee, fo, fum kind of giant. I'm not talking Jolly Green Giant and Little Sprout. I'm not talking about any of those. I'm talking about a giant who was like really tall, the kind of guy that Shaquille O'Neal would be like, whoa. But so he's like really big, but like 8 feet tall. But what he would do is he would come down into that valley and he would call up to the Israelites, "Who will fight me?" And all the Israelites are like, "Oh, no thank you." And they'd hide behind their shields and he'd be like, "Who will fight me? Do any of you dare to fight me? You and your puny little god, will you come up against the great Goliath? Bah! You are scared. You are just too scared. Scared little puppies. Scared little chickies. Little chickie. Oh, this is little chickie bok bok. Chickie bok. Chickie bok bok. Oh, little chickie. Oh, silly Israelites. And then he would go back up. And all the people of Israel, they'd be so scared and they'd be shaking, and all the army doesn't want to go and face him. The next day, what do you think happened? Down comes the giant again, Goliath. And he'd start calling up, "Oh, well, fight me. If you defeat me, I and all my people will be your servants. If we defeat you, you will be our servants. Who, you say you have a big God? Who will fight me?" And all the Israelites, what would they do? They'd hide behind their shields. They're too scared. They didn't trust God. They didn't trust anybody. They just saw a giant and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to face him." Well, Goliath went back up. "Oh, silly Israelites. Chicky, bok, bok, chicky, bok, chicky, box." Well, the next day, as he's making his way down, along comes David. Now, David is just a shepherd boy, just young. He's too young to be in the army, but his brothers were in the army. So what his dad did is he said, "David, I want you to take some stuff. Take some bread, take some cheese to your brothers, to the commander, and just see what's going on and bring me back news of what's happening in the war." So David gets there, and he looks around, and he's thinking, why is the battle not going on? And then he hears this voice. "Who will fight me?" And he looks down, and there, in the valley, was this huge guy. And then he started smack-talking God. "Oh, God. Oh, silly little God. Oh, your God cannot defeat me." And David heard, and he's getting mad. He's like, "Nobody talks about my God this way." And he looks around and he sees all the soldiers hiding and shaking. And oh no, he's going to hurt us. He's like, "Guys, why aren't you down there fighting him? We've got God on our side." But they're like, "Who are you, little punk? Who are you coming and telling us what we should do? Just go away, go back to mommy, okay? We don't want to hear you." He's like, "No, nobody talks about my God that way." David's brothers hear him, and they're getting mad. But other people heard, and they went to the king, King Saul and said, hey, King Saul, there's some punk over here, and he's talking about what wimps the army is because we won't go fight this guy. And the king says, oh, yeah? Well, bring him to me. So they went and got David. And they brought David in to see the king. So here's this little shepherd boy. Just like, probably 12, 13, 14, just a young guy. And now he's standing in front of the king. And the king's a big guy himself. The Bible says he's head and shoulders above everybody else. And so David's like, your sire, your immenseness person? And the king says, I hear that you are saying things about my army, saying that we're scared, saying that we're chick-box, just like that giant over there. And David says, well, with all respect, it's kind of true. I mean, you're up here. And the king says, don't you talk about my army. It's just nobody's fighting him. Why isn't anybody fighting him? In fact, you know what? If nobody else is going to fight him, I'll go fight him. I will go fight this giant. And the king says, oh, please, you're just a giant. And David said, it's not me that's going to fight. It's my God. And my God is going to fight against that giant. Well, the king thought about it. And he thought about it. And he thought about it. Then he said, you know what? You think you can fight him? Go ahead. But I'm not sending you out like that because I don't want you just out. So I'm going to give you my armor. And you put on my armor, and then you go out and see what you can do against this giant. And David's like, I don't really need any armor, but fair enough, okay? Fair enough. So they bring out King Saul's army. And remember what I said earlier, King Saul's this big guy. So they take, and it's like, oh, that's heavy. And then they take the helmet and they put it on his head and it goes whoom, down there. And he's like, hey, guys, you still around here? It's a little bit big for me. So they take it off of his head and it's like, oh, man, that's better. It's like, armor. I've got God. Why do I need your armor on me? So King Saul says, okay, you want to fight him without armor? And may God be with you. And David walks away thinking, yeah, you bet he is going to be with me. So David goes walking down, and meanwhile, Goliath is out there. Bok, chicky, bok, you guys are just chicken little puppies. Oh, little puppies. And David's walking towards him, and he comes past this little brook, and he picks up some stones, like real smooth ones, like, yeah, these ones are pretty good, and he tucks them in his little pouch. So he goes walking along, and he says, Mr. Giant. And Goliath looks at him. Who are you? I'm a servant of God, and I've come here to fight you. Oh, servant of God. Oh, who is this little God? Who is this little man? What am I? Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And David says, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I am here because I am going to fight you in the name of the Lord. So Goliath says, you want to fight me? Come at me, because at least you're braver than these other chicky box. And David says, today the Lord is going to take you down in this field. Well, Goliath isn't used to people talking that way. And he gets mad. He's like, oh yeah? Roar! And he gets his sword, his shield, and then he gets his sword, and he starts running towards him. Boom, boom, boom. Faster and faster, and David pulls out a rock and he puts it in a sling and he starts swinging over his head. Whoo, 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 boom, 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 boom. Whoo! And the stone goes, boom. And Goliath says, oh. And he fell down dead. David defeated the giant, not on his own. God was with him. And as long as we have God with us, what do we have to be? Weird stuff going on right now, okay? So we're normally in school and you're thinking, why? That may be a little bit scary just because it's different. But you know what, guys? We don't have to be afraid. Just like David wasn't scared to go up against a giant, we can go up against any giants in our lives. Whether it's a big 8-foot tall giant or whether it's an invisible giant that we don't really know what it is because people are getting sick. We don't have to be afraid because we've got God on our side. God's always with you. God's always with me. You never have to be afraid. All right, guys? Hey, I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to see you again. We're praying that it's going to be soon. All right. Till next time.